Good evening, everybody. I'm Jacob Brier, and welcome to Connect with Jacob Brier. This video series is a way for me to connect with you and you to connect with me during this period of social distancing as a result of coronavirus coming through our communities. And it's an opportunity for me to share my perspective about some things going on, how we're all getting by in town. It's an opportunity to share some ideas and suggestions, which is what I'll be doing primarily this evening. And it's also an opportunity for you to send in any questions at jacobbrier.com/connect. I'll put that up later on. And I have a few questions that I'll be answering this evening. We've moved quite a bit past the status of where things had been just on Friday. So I just brief recap. Since then, we have had the governor issue a stay-at-home order, and we've also unfortunately had the passing of the first few Rhode Islanders to the coronavirus. There's a question related to the changing status in the governor's executive order about the stay-at-home that I'll touch on later. But it just shows how quickly this moves and how important it is that we continue to do what we're all striving to do, which is to stay at home as much as possible. And tonight I'm really just going to focus on some things we can do at home in order to help pass the time, to stay engaged, to ensure that we're focusing our energy at home and not kind of getting bored and straying off walking the halls, the aisles at CVS or Shaw's because they're the only places open. We really need to stay out of those places except for when we need to get our things, and then get back home and take part in some of these activities I'm going to discuss. There's also a more complete list on my website as well of just suggestions, and I do hope that you'll add to that by sending in questions. A first suggestion is something I spoke about a few episodes ago, which is finding a pen pal. My son is doing a correspondence comic book writing session with a friend of his who's also in second grade. The two of them are taking turns adding to the comic book, writing a little note to the other, and then we walk it over, leave it outside for them, send a text message so they can get it when we leave. With the rain, it's not going to be ideal time to go, so it's actually our turn to get it back over to their house, and we'll be doing that hopefully tomorrow. There will be a break in some rain. Take up yoga and meditation. Now is certainly a time when being cooped up, the physical benefits of yoga are helpful, but also the mental and emotional benefits of yoga and meditation are very helpful. Learn something new. So this could be learning a language. There are a lot of resources online. You can pick a language and try to learn it. You could finally learn how to edit your pictures using Photoshop or some other software, or maybe you've gotten behind at work because you're having trouble with your spreadsheets. There's a lot of tutorials online to master those formulas in Excel. Take up baking. You could bake artisanal breads or something else. Anything you like to bake or brew or anything like that at home. You could make up a scavenger hunt. That could be fun for the whole family. You can either hide things or just try to list some things that are already throughout your home, or on a nice day throughout your neighborhood if you can get outside a bit. Or here's an idea that I discussed recently with some of our neighbors. On the next really nice evening, we're going to have a picnic on our front yard at the same time as neighbors across the street and the neighbors next to them and maybe some other neighbors. We'll all be on our own yards, well beyond the social distance needed. We're talking 20, 30 feet apart, but we're doing something with our family and all the families around us doing the same. That's something that I think can really help build community, make us feel connected, even though we can't be, sitting down next to the cooler, just chatting. But we can still take part in something together. And one thing I'd like to emphasize about any activities you're doing, whether in home or out of home, is to really take a little bit more care than you usually do. Let's say it's baking that you're going to do. You might, if you don't generally cook, you might not want to dice things too finely. You want to make sure you don't get a cut with that knife and end up needing stitches, because we want to keep the hospitals free. You don't want to do any extra driving, because that has you out on the roads when really we need to leave. We need to leave as much opportunity for public safety and for medical workers to be coming and going, but also to ensure that we're not taking any undue risks. And so with the challenge of staying home, that leads us to the quote I want to share this evening. It is a challenge. It's something new that we're all trying to do, but as I've said, it's not something that's tremendously challenging or difficult. We simply just have to do it. So here's a quote that I've heard and really resonates well, which is, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny little matters compared to what lies within us." And that's by Henry Stanley Haskins. I've gotten a few questions over the last few days, and I just wanted to share some responses with everybody. The first had to do with what businesses can do for help now, and we've heard it, if you've listened to the press conferences that the governor's been giving, you've heard this, but it hasn't made it into too many of the news articles I've read. And so the Commerce RI, the Commerce Department of the state, is offering free technology support for any of the small businesses. They're really focusing on small kind of mom and pop type stores that don't yet have an online presence. They want to help you get set up online so that you can be taking orders online, charging online, so that one of the specific examples they gave is bookstores. They want to help bookstores get online so that they can either offer delivery or do curbside pickup. They're allowing for curbside pickup. They're just not allowing any customers into stores that aren't selling necessary items. And so to get that support, you can call area code 401-521-HELP. Another question I've had from a lot of folks are the conflicts in some of these executive orders about now it's the stay-at-home order, and people wondering, okay, well, if anybody coming in from out of state has to quarantine, what if I go to the Stop and Shop in Seekonk? What our town manager advised me when I would bring him these questions is, he says, what I should do, what I should encourage others to do, is use common sense. If we are all doing our best to abide by this advice and these requirements, we're not going to run afoul if we're making a good faith effort to do that. So if you're going to that supermarket instead of the one that's on our side of the border, that's not going to be an issue. What they're looking for is people who have been really traveling, staying out of state and coming back. If we're talking about, small radius within our community, Seekonk is still part of our extended community. Another question is, people ask often about the numbers and statistics of what's going on in terms of the rapid growth or rapid transmission of the virus. And I'm not a news source. I'm really good at Google, but I really want to, rather than answering any of those types of questions, direct folks to the Rhode Island Department of Health website, and I've added a link on my site. I'm actually just going to put this in now. The website where I post all of the resources that I'm using to develop my opinion and perspective on things. the different articles I read and resources I would like you to be able to find, I put on my website. So if you go to jacobbrier.com/connect, that has the links to this video cast and a couple, the link to submit questions, but then also a link to my resource page, which is, it's full of the at-home ideas that I shared earlier, as well as maybe a dozen articles that I've read over the past 2 weeks related to this, and a link to the Rhode Island Department of Health website specifically about the statistics and instances. So I do encourage you to go there for that information rather than seek it from me, either submitting questions here or asking online or Facebook and things like that. That was it for the questions. If you have any, please use the website to submit more. I'm Jacob Brier. Thank you for taking the time to connect, and I hope you stay home and stay healthy.